What are the different types of data? There's lots of them, right? And I'm not going to talk specifically about the data that you will have in your organization because I work with a whole stack of different organizations and they have different data. But I am going to talk about the different categories that the information we have fits into. So people usually assume that I only play with numbers, and that's the quantitative data that we have. So quantitative data is really useful because we can compare it easily, we can graph it, we can visualize it. It's really easy to compare. If I say, my profit was 23% last year and this year it's 32%, I can really easily and quickly understand what that means and compare the information. I often think about, using Google Maps and Google reviews. So I travel a lot for work and I'm always looking for a good coffee before I start my day. And because I'm often in places that I haven't traveled to before, I will use Google Maps to help me find coffee. And I click on the button that says top rated, and then I say open now, and it will sort in order from the highest score out of 5 down for cafes around me that are open. Now that's a really easy comparison. I know that if a cafe is a 4.7 out of 5 for coffee and another cafe nearby is 3.5, every day of the week I know where I'm going to go. I'm going to go for the higher number because why would I go for the lower value when it's rubbish coffee? So that's quantitative data is useful because we can do all of those things with it. We can aggregate it. We can put even millions of data points into an overall average or a median, or we can look at the spread over a couple of years. I think about crypto, and crypto changes, the value of Bitcoin changes every second. And yet we can put in one chart, we can chart the value of Bitcoin from it when it started through till now. Now that's millions and millions of data points that we can represent in one chart. So incredible power with numbers that we have to visualize it and see those trends and insights really easily. The second type of data we have is qualitative. And so the qualitative is all the stuff essentially that's not numbers. I know that's probably not a perfectly mathematical definition of it, but let's run with it. Now, with qualitative data, we actually have two types. The main one that you would think about is the narrative type story. So what comments do we have? What do we have in emails? What do we have in policies? What do we know about the context, the clients, the people that we work with? Look, it doesn't have to be written down for it to be qualitative data. It might be up here. It might be our experiences, our observations, our conversations. All of that is qualitative data. And you think about going back to the Google Maps example, the qualitative data in that is the comments that people make. And it's useful because it provides the context. The numbers only allow the comparison and the visualization and the charting. But the qualitative really allows us to understand what's going on. And I was traveling a few years ago to a town in regional New South Wales called Lismore, and there were two cafes quite close to each other, like 50 metres apart. And they had the same rating for the cafe. And I was looking for a coffee. And so I was like, this is interesting. This is an interesting challenge. Same score, very close to one another. So what I decided to do was to read the comments, right? And I'm elongating the story, but I just want you to think about the extra time it takes to do this. It might only be 30 seconds of our life, but it's more cognitive engagement and it's slower than going 4.7, 3.5. So what I did was I read through some of the comments, and AI is now doing a good job of summarizing some of the themes for us. But before that, what we would do is we're doing a thematic analysis in our brain. We're saying, is good coffee coming up through those reviews? Is it rubbish service but amazing coffee? It's like, cool, I can deal with rubbish service if I'm going to get a great coffee on the other end. But we do this thematic analysis, and we would look for key themes. And my example in Lismore was kind of interesting because one of the cafes was all about amazing coffee, and then the other cafe was all about how amazing their karagi chicken is at lunchtime. And I was like, cool, that's awesome, but I actually don't need to eat karagi chicken at 7:30 in the morning. So I'm going to go to the place with the coffee. But if I need lunch, I know where I'm coming back to. And as I say, yes, that's elongating kind of that example, but it's more processing time, it's more thinking, it takes time to do the comparison in our brain, and it, you know, it is what it is, but it provides the context and the richness of the information that I wouldn't have had by just looking at the 4.7s. The downside of that information is that when we think about the qualitative data that we have in our workplaces, is that there is so much of it. There is so much in documents. You think about like what's on your SharePoint, all of the emails that contain all of that data. It's everywhere. It's not necessarily easy to collect and organize, and it's not necessarily easy to do a thematic analysis on and to identify those key themes. So rich in context, rich in information, but time consuming to process and to use. ChatGPT, Chatty to me, Chatty is getting a lot better, like Claude, any AI is getting a lot better at helping us identify some of those themes in qualitative data. So if I do a survey and I ask people an open-ended question, I'll often take that data, drop it into Chatty and say, what are the top 5 themes that emerge from this, and tell me how many people have referenced it. And so it's really useful at doing it. It's really good at doing that. Obviously, we always need to check it, but it's actually helping us thematically analyze data that previously we would have had to read through every single one. Obviously, there's more hardcore research ways that you can do that through programs like In Vivo, but you know, most of us don't buy that, use it, need it. We can just use Chatty, particularly if it's de-identified information. Now, we've talked about quantitative, we've talked about qualitative. There's actually another category of qualitative, though, that's to do with categories. So the first qualitative lot of information I was talking about was all that open-ended narrative piece. There's another set of data that sits kind of in the center that is categorical. And so when you think about, if you answer a survey and there's questions about to what extent do you strongly disagree to strongly agree, what you do in that, I guess, in that survey is you sum up your overall experiences, you kind of weigh up what's happened and what you've thought, and then you pick the label that best fits your experience. That data then becomes quite easy to visualize, to compare. You know, if we can say like this number of people agreed with this statement versus this number of people disagreed. So it's good because we can still do some comparisons and some visualizations. It's not as subjective as the narrative open-ended information that I was talking about before, but it is more subjective than the numbers. So it kind of sits in the middle in terms of subjectivity. Numbers are the most objective generally, qualitative is the most subjective, and categorical data kind of sits in the middle. It's also things like if you were to choose a category that something fits into. So in that instance, you know, if you're selling different products and you want to categorize it in a shop, in your online store, or if you're going shopping, you'll look through the different categories. That's qualitative information. So we can see how many products we have that fit into each category. Not unlike the strongly disagree to strongly agree, those type of categories don't have a hierarchy. So these ones are called ordinal types of data. So there's an order to the categories, and these ones are nominal. So, you know, if I said, what type of car do you own? You know, there's no hierarchy in that. They're all the same. They're on the same level. So that's the nominal data where there's no kind of hierarchy. It just is what it is. If you talked about how many pizzas a shop sold, that's obviously going to fall into the small, medium, or larges. Whereas if we said what type of drinks are people buying, then those categories are side by side. So that's the difference. So those categories are useful, but there's still an element of subjectivity. And you know, you think about when our Google reviews, even in the qualitative information, we know that people can go into the same place, buy the same food, have the same experience, be served by the same person, and write wildly different reviews on Google. And that's why, you know, we see the 1s out of 5s and the 5s out of 5s, and often they're around the same kind of time frame. And all of that's okay. But when we play in the qualitative, whether it's the narrative or the categories, we've just got to recognize that people see the world, it's the saying, you know, people see the world not as it is, but as they are. So our perspective of whether or not that coffee I got was amazing and I'm going to write a review about it, or whether I thought the coffee was rubbish and I write a review, I'm processing all of the information I have through my lens, through my background, biases, you know, culture, experiences, all of that. And so it's not right or wrong. there's a range of perspectives, but that type of data is the most subjective. What the numbers do is they allow us to aggregate and get an overall value that makes it more objective. So pros and cons of all of them. When we triangulate, we want to use a range of different information, but we never ever want to just rely on the narrative qualitative, because it's the most subjective and it's the most influenced by these amazing things up here. So the numbers are often a really objective way of kind of fact checking and providing confirmation or more information about what we're looking at.